Will Bruce Cassidy really shuffle the lines like we saw at practice on Monday, or is he giving the Wild something else to prepare for? The game within the game as we head to game number 5. We'll talk about it next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Sunfield Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. I'm a longtime sportscaster, marketing consultant, and the host of the new Believe in Vegas podcast on the Believe Network. Chris is the owner of the Silver State Cards and Sports business and collectibles editor for the Hockey News. This is the only daily Golden Knights podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen. Coming up later on, can VGK win the series with the lack of scoring from Eichel and Stone? The big question still remains, and we'll have our locks and predictions for tonight's Game 5. We are brought to you today by Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is also an Xbox. Go to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On. Is Bruce Cassidy, Chris, actually going to have the top line of Jack Eichel, William Karlsson, and Pavel Dorofeev for game number 5 tonight? Two centers on the same line. Could this line actually defend or contain, I should say, Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, and Matt Boldy? Something's up with the two centers on that top line.
Cassidy talked about this in yesterday's presser, and he joked that these are lines today. Today's over. Tomorrow's a new day. We'll see what happens. So Cassidy is even tipping his hand a little bit here. It's the game within the game, like you said in the open. It's the competitive advantage. It's the coaches just kind of, like you said, giving the other team a little something to think about. We talked about this, I believe it was Monday's or Friday's show, about Tanner Pearson drawing in for Olofsson, even though it seemed like Olofsson will be playing. Now, again, that wasn't a big earth-shattering situation that completely changed the Wild's game plan. Let's relax for a second. But these are the types of things that do happen in this stage of the season, whether it's premeditated or whether it simply was a change of heart, during warmups or not long before the game started. In this case, Eichel and Karlsson on the same line, I understand it. You're preparing for the Wild's top line in Boldy and Kirill Kaprizov there. But I don't know about the chemistry on that line. Buzzword. And, I don't know about the chemistry on that line. Karlsson is a winger for an entire game. I don't know. Eichel with Dorofeev, you haven't seen that a whole lot throughout the season, although I love that as a pair, as line. It just didn't work out like that. And Eichel and Karlsson together never happens at all. So it wouldn't surprise me if maybe this is how they skated in warmups, but they went away from it very quickly. And then throughout the game, the top 9 players were basically interchangeable.
So 8 goals and 14 points for Minnesota's top line against the Golden Knights. And that's going to be the big issue for the best 2 of 3. Can the Golden Knights at least contain that top line, which at times appears to be unstoppable?
I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. Eichel's a -7 in the series. That's a major concern. We'll talk more about him and Stone, of course, in the second segment. But seeing Jack as a -7, someone who passively is looked on as a Selke candidate, maybe not a finalist in the top 3 for votes, but someone that might be, flirting right in that range of maybe being in like the top 5 or top 6 when you're factoring all the worthy candidates. Now he's on paper, again, not reality, but on paper, he's a -7. He is at the moment the biggest defensive liability on the Vegas Golden Knights. Jack Eichel is
even worse than Theodore.
Theodore right now went up. Theodore's only a -5 now, but Theodore got a big goal and he's got an assist, which is double the scoring output of Jack Eichel. Wow. So at the moment, Eichel, again on paper, statistically, is the biggest defensive liability. So again, this does go back to why you pair William Karlsson out there. William Karlsson has had history playing against the other team's top centers in the playoffs and doing pretty well. Of course, we always go back to McDavid in the second round a couple seasons ago, and he's shut down. Shutdown's the word, but he's definitely done a good job against other teams' top centers. So I understand what's happening here, and maybe you're throwing this line together not to be scored on, but then you're going to wait. Well, why is Dorofeev on that line? Well, that's a good question. Dorofeev is far from a shutdown center or a shutdown winger, and I'll go farther. I mean, Dorofeev is someone we were, I don't know if concern is the word, but I wanted to see Dorofeev do it in the playoffs, and all Dorofeev has done is scored on an empty net right now in the playoffs and got an assist as well. But we haven't seen a lot from Pavel. So we'll see if somehow this Karlsson, Eichel, Dorofeev line does wind up paying.
It's not going to materialize.
I don't know.
I don't know if it'll materialize even.
Smoke screen.
A change for Minnesota. John Merrill replaces Zeev Buyam, who committed that high-sticking. Oh, he is a forward, yeah. Who committed the high-sticking penalty in Game 4 that cut up Mark Stone. This will be the 38th playoff game for Merrill, and you can't beat that experience.
By the number of stitches that Mark Stone has too from that high stick.
How many? What was the total of stitches over under for Stone this season?
Remember, he got over 38. I don't know. Well, they zippered him up for when he got hit in the forehead. I don't know what they did for the one by his eye.
Was there 27 and a hook? What do you think?
That feels like a good line. That feels like a good line. Listen, John Merrill, like you said, 30-something playoff 38 playoff games. He'll be responsible. I'm assuming he'll be on the third defensive pairing. But he'll be responsible. He'll get the job done. I don't think you'll see players getting behind him too often. Kind of the same thing that kept him in the VGK lineup for a long time. You enjoy watching him out there. He's kind of a goofball. He fit in really well, of course, in the Vegas organization for a long time. And everyone, of course, I still remember exactly where I was. I think me and my son, we were walking around a little bit, and we happened to be in the area. Like there's some tables you can sit at behind the goal in the upper bowl, and I just looked out of the corner of my eye while we were gabbing, and I see a forward score this goal. I didn't recognize the number, and the hands were like really tight. And I'm like, did John Merrill just score that goal as a fourth line winger? And
as a winger,
like I remember the look on Gallant's face, everyone laughing. And how can you not enjoy John Merrill? Another one of those guys that I think I could see John Merrill being around the Golden Knights organization a lot when he retires in some type of role or just hanging out in Vegas because he likes it here. But you like John Merrill, it'll be fun to see him out there. And hopefully it doesn't give the team the spark they need to beat the Golden Knights. But you got to appreciate John Merrill.
Alex Petrangelo, maintenance day or maintenance day today?
Yeah, I mean,
is there concern about him missing?
There has to be concern. I mean, listen, if there's one player on this team that's probably going to, practice as few games as possible between now and hopefully June, it's probably going to be Petrangelo. So I wouldn't read much into it, but I also wouldn't just simply excuse it either. If completely throwing it away and trusting what Cassidy said is one option, and the other option is maybe there's a little bit of concern. I think there's maybe a little bit of concern, but I think he'll likely skate today. I don't know if we're at the stage of the playoffs now where on the day of game skates, if they become optional, or if this will be a full practice, or not a full skate today. So keep an eye on that news to pop from City National. If Petrangelo does not take the ice today and it's an organized activity where everyone else is out there, no, we got something to keep an eye on. So we'll have to wait and see. But the stage of, it's all smoke screens right now, whether it's the lines we're talking about, whether it's what Cassidy is saying in his pressers when someone does miss a practice. Like you never know right now. This is all about that competitive advantage. I know it seems tacky and petty. It doesn't really matter. It does seem petty, and all teams do it. This is not a Golden Knights thing. I know we drag the Golden Knights sometimes, more than sometimes. But this is a case where once the playoffs start, all bets are off as far as smoke screens and
psychological warfare.
Their teeth when they're talking. It's just part of how it goes.
Yeah, it's psychological warfare.
100%. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And whether Hines and his coaching staff are okay, here's what happened. Let's be ready for this. Or if they're laughing about it when they're watching the press conferences and stuff. I don't know how they react to this sort of thing. And it would be interesting. That would be a cool, like, behind the scenes type documentary that would come out like after a season is over. That'd be really fun actually watching stuff like that. It'd be cool content.
Through 4 games, Hines has done an incredible job coaching this Wild team. He's done a terrific job. I think
He's
that's
done
the
well,
biggest, I
absolutely.
think that's one of the biggest surprises to me of this entire series. Obviously, the top line and the way that they've come together for Minnesota, and again, just the way that at times the physical nature of the game, the advantage has been towards the Wild. I'm really surprised at how well he's coached this team.
I think the only ones surprised are people in Vegas right now, me, you, and other Golden Knight fans and stuff. I think a lot of people across the country do remember this Minnesota Wild team when fully healthy earlier on in the season were one of the top teams in the National Hockey League. And that fell apart, all the injuries, and the Golden Knights have seen what it's like when injured players come back in the first round of the playoffs. So we kind of all dismissed it and thought it might be, I won't say like I think we both went 6 games in our predictions, if I'm not mistaken.
We both went 6.
We both went 6, but I didn't feel like it was going to be a stressful 6 games either. I didn't think the Golden Knights would trail in the series. I predicted 3 wins, 2 losses, and then game 6 they went on the road. They can still win game 6 on the road to advance in the series should they win tonight. But a lot of people across the country don't look at this as a major surprise. And while they're a good team, John Hines is a good coach. Can he eventually his legacy is going to matter come playoff time, though? And we're talking about an organization that's won 4 playoff series, I believe, dating back to 2001. This is their 25th year in the National Hockey League, the Minnesota Wild. And Hines, I don't got the numbers in front of me.
Was it like 8-14 coming in, something like that in the playoffs?
Yeah, but just as far as like advancing
500
in the Stanley
the last
Cup
time
playoffs,
that the Wild won a playoff series was 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're the butt of a lot of jokes as far as getting out of the first round, right up there with the Maple Leafs. But it's been, okay. So John Hines, here we go. He's been a head coach of the National Hockey League since 15-16. Missed the playoffs 1, 2, 3. Lost in the weird qualifying round in the COVID year, so that's 4. Geez. So he was out of the playoffs in 7 of those seasons, and then he lost in round 1 in 17-18, 2020-21. 21-22, and also lost in the qualifying round in 19-20. That was that weird COVID situation. So we're talking someone who's not even at Pete DeBoer's or Paul Maurice's levels as far as finding a way to get out of that cellar. So this is the legacy that Hines is going to draw himself pretty soon if he can't find a way, because he's got a pretty good team right now. And yeah.
So I said VGK has momentum going into game 5.
Of course.
But Bruce Cassidy tends to believe, based on what he said yesterday, that there's no carryover of momentum, and momentum is built game to game, which I found a little bit peculiar because I feel like an overtime loss was detrimental to Minnesota. And now I think that takes a lot of the wind out of their sails coming to Las Vegas, and the Wild Cards could have been up 3-1 in this series, and that has to have some effect. I'm sorry, but I think it's a major, to me, momentum shift for VGK.
Well, 2 things. One, Cassidy knows what it feels like on the bench in the practice, and that's something that very few people will ever experience, what it's like being in an NHL locker room when that speech is happening before the game and how the game-to-game activities and feelings work and everything. So you got to trust what Cassidy says to a degree right there. On the outside, you come off. I mean, who had the more enjoyable plane ride to Vegas, the Golden Knights or the Minnesota Wild? I mean,
right.
I think that's got something to do with it. I think there's a stress buildup, and it can all be erased. I mean, whoever one of these 2 teams is going to have a terrible flight to Minnesota sometime tomorrow. Whoever the losing side of today's game is. So I think there is definitely game to game momentum, but I also think Cassidy is trying to keep the team grounded. And I mean, we've heard Cassidy say this so many times: stay in the present, live in the present, be here now. That's no Caesar's thing, but I do buy what Cassidy says there. One quick note that I did catch: Cassidy mentioned that Pearson, Kolasar, and Howden are all sick. He basically said that in yesterday's post-game presser, or sorry, yesterday's media availability. So you wonder, they're all stuck on a mash unit fourth line right now. You almost wonder if the Golden Knights are going to be a three-headed horse today, as far as top three lines getting most of the minutes, and the fourth line, if they're all a little bit under the weather, chewing up 6, 7, 8 minutes, 3 or 4 shifts a game or something, or a period or something like that.
I think Howden was roughing it up the other night between the second and third periods and didn't come out. Remember, I think he missed that.
I mean, Howden, Pearson only played like 7 minutes that game. I mean, there's a lot of things going on right now, and I mean, I don't know. I think they'll find a way. But stick them in what MGM has, that place where you can get rehydrated after you have like an all-night bender and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Give him an IV drip, get him good to go. Put an IV on the bench.
It's the best of 3, 2 out of 3 home games coming up for VGK. Coming up next, can the Golden Knights win this series with a lack of scoring from Eichel and Captain Courageous Stone? Back with more right after this on Locked On Golden Knights. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and if you've never been to a live NHL playoff game, it's unlike anything else, for sure. And the intensity, the speed, the energy in the building, it is next level. And thanks to Gametime, getting in the door is easier and more affordable than ever before. Gametime is the fastest way to grab your playoff tickets, even for those must-see matchups. Prices actually drop as the puck drop gets closer, and with last-minute deals, you can save up to 60%. Last-minute deals up to 60% off, buying last minute for sports, for concerts, for comedy and theater, and much, much more. They have that all-in pricing, and it shows the total cost up front, no surprise fees at checkout. The app even gives you that panoramic seat view, so you know exactly what you're getting into before you buy that ticket. And of course, with Gametime ticket coverage, I know that I'm protected, whether it's cancellation protection, job loss assurance, hopefully not for anyone out there, or their 24-hour return guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets today. Of course, download the Gametime app, create an account, use that promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick reporting from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. On Friday, it is WTF Day. Saturday, now playoff time, is the Chris and Chris Jr. show. And that is the YouTube exclusive. Please subscribe there, folks. We appreciate you tuning in. Eichel and Stone, just 2 points in this series, Chris. No goals. Both had to skate a ton of minutes in Game 4. And I'm wondering if this might have, oh no, that's like momentum. Can this have a cumulative effect on these two? Because Eichel, we know for a fact they were managing his minutes, 16 minutes average. And then game number 3, he had to play a little bit more because of the power play unit, the PK. But then 30 minutes for him, and close to that for Mark Stone in game number 4. And I'm a little bit concerned about these minutes adding up. Your thoughts?
I mean, you're painting a picture that makes sense, and the fact that we are looking at a fourth line that's basically sick going out there, which is going to push more minutes for Jack. So it could be a passive concern, but I don't know. I mean, I think I'm going to keep banging the drum I did after game 2 when I was talking about the minutes and everything, saying that Jack and Mark Stone need to be on the ice more. So I think I'm kind of stuck owning that take until the end of this series, come hell or high water at this point. Can VGK win the series with lack of scoring from Eichel and Stone? So before the series started, I would have said yes, because they are going to shut down whoever they're out there against. And if they get a goal or two here and there, then everything's going to wind up working itself out just fine. The reality is that hasn't happened. Of course, Boldy and Kaprizov are running wild out there. Hulkamania, I guess, right? Running wild. I run wild on you. Eichel is a -7. Stone is a -4. They both have 1 point in this series. We know Mark Stone's point was even strength. I don't know if Jack Eichel's was. It was a power play. So Jack Eichel has no points in 5-on-5 play in this series. And same boat, Mark Stone has no points in power plays in this series. So if you would have told me that through 4 games of this series that Eichel was a -7, Stone was a -4, they have 2 assists, only 1 at 5-on-5, I would have told you that the Golden Knights are cooked and it looks like it's going to be a 5-game series. And that's what I would have told you. This speaks volumes, I guess, to the depth of the team. Other players finding ways to chip in out there. Of course, Ivan Barbashev gets the biggest goal. Shea Theodore seems like his confidence is.
He is so clutch, man. I said that before the series. He's clutch. He's just. It's a different player in the playoffs. In those greasy goals. He had 11 hits right in game 3. He is just the clutch guy to me.
No, 100%. I was looking at some stats I wrote down earlier. No, 100%. I mean, Barbashev, full credit, of course, to McCrimmon for that. I mean, they scouted him 112 times, it felt like, before they actually pulled the trigger on Barbashev. Barbashev basically takes Riley Smith's spot in the Vegas Golden Knights, and full circle in 2025, Riley Smith comes back to the Golden Knights. So it's just crazy how things find a way to work themselves out sometimes. A couple stats I wrote down here, and this kind of will help with this segment, I guess. I'm not a big advanced stat guy, but I'm starting to pay attention to the X goals for, X goals against, and all that. Basically, those are expected goals, depending on who's shooting them, for what location, and a lot of different things go into the algorithm. Golden Knights 5-on-5 are at 10.98, where the Wild are at 8.49. High danger chances favor the Golden Knights 44-37. Now you factor all situations into those stats. The Golden Knights still favor the X goals for at 14.22 to 12.56. High danger chances are much tighter, 48-46. That's factoring the power plays and everything. So when you look at that, yes, it's razor thin in this series as far as how close it is, but that's how it was before Game 4 started as well, after the Golden Knights played abysmal in Games 2 and 3. So that tells you that the series was pretty close, and how this ties into Eichel and Stone and everything. It's not necessarily going to be Eichel and Stone getting the goals. Although I think a drum I'm willing to bang to the end here is if the plus-minus numbers continue to go the wrong direction for Eichel and Stone, if they only finish this series with 2 points, I don't think the Golden Knights will find a path to advancing. That contradicts my perspective, of course, when it comes to the sportsbooks angle and everything I point out before Game 4 started. So with that said, I think Eichel and Stone, spoiler alert, might be my locks of the night. I think they're going to break out in Games 5 and 6.
And with 3 days off, essentially, these two players should be refreshed. They should be, to some degree, coming into the game tonight. Bruce Cassidy said yesterday, he said that it took John. I'm surprised that they can say Jonathan Marchessault's name. It took Marchessault a few games to get started in the Cup season, Conn Smythe season. Do you feel that Jack can erupt at any given time? And again, I know that Eichel said he has to be better, and he said that it really does help to get out there to the next game and to play that game. And Cassidy feels Eichel might have elevated. I see where you're trending here. He might have elevated his game in Game 4.
You look at Shea Theodore. Bruce Cassidy mentioned that Shea Theodore, sometimes you need that goal to get that confidence. And then I think the quote was he got that goal and he played lights out or something like that the rest of the game. I forgot the exact quote. And I think the same. Mark Stone, I don't think it matters as much. I think Mark Stone is probably a little more level-headed, I guess, in that regard. I think Mark Stone, if he doesn't care. Mark Stone, I think, is going to bring the same level of game, whether he's got 6 goals in 8 games or 0 goals in 7 games. I don't think Mark Stone's game is going to change a whole lot. Jack Eichel might get in his head a little bit more, might grip the stick a little bit tighter. He might end up, passing more than he should. Obviously, you love when Jack Eichel shoots. We talk about that all the time.
He had 6 shots on Saturday.
if he gets 6 or 7 shots today, I think one finds the back of the nets. I think,
Yeah, he
I
had
think he'll
6, so
find a way.
he's trying to start to pick it up and be more aggressive. So yes, we do see that. Goaltending, real quick, before we go to break here. Errors from both of the goaltenders in this series. You have to wonder how this will take place tonight. Who has the better game out of those two goalies? Aiden Hill at home, but the Gus Bus, you can't say enough about the way that he's responded. And rebound control, I think, will be a major factor in tonight's game.
The fact that the Golden Knights are still tied in this series, despite Aiden Hill having a 2.54 save percentage to Gustafson's 9.19, that speaks volumes for what's happening in front of Aiden as well. And Aiden didn't look good, I would say, in games 2 and 3 by any means. I don't think he lost the games by any means, but definitely, everyone sucked in those games. Let's just be realistic here for a second. And Aiden Hill was a lot better. I think he made a lot more big saves in game 4. And watching the goals that the Wild scored in game 4, it's like, okay, like it's hard to find fault in Aiden Hill and the goals that got behind him in game number 4. And this is it. I mean, I don't know what the statistics are, but I'll bet in a 2-2 series, I'll bet the team that wins game 5 advances a ton of the time.
80,
I'd be surprised if it wasn't somewhat over 80%. Absolutely.
It has to be over. Yeah, it's way.
I'll try and find that while you're
I'm going to say
85.62%.
85.62%. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go to a break here. Coming up next, it's our locks and predictions for game number 5. Stay with right here on Locked On Golden Knights. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on all the action. So right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that bet wins. That's right, 250 clams in bonus bets if your bet wins. I definitely like how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From 3-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet on your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine your live prop bets, I like this, into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. So don't miss out, fans. It is the NBA playoffs. NHL playoffs are here as well. And head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Again, that is FanDuel.com. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick reporting from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen every day. Thank you so much to a lot of our new listeners and viewers from around the world. We definitely appreciate you as well as our everydayers. So I'm going to go with the barf bag line, I think, tonight. So I'm going to go with Well, no, I was going to say, no. Who else is sick? Howden and who? I don't know. I'm going to go.
Pearson Colasar.
I'll just take Howden from the barf bag line and put him with Hannafin. And the first goal tonight will be key. And that'll either be Foligno or Hartman. VGK wins it, though, 4-2. I tried to make a case for the wild cards, and I just think they might peter out, even though momentum's got nothing to do with this series. Coming in to this barn here in Vegas, after you let up the lead there the other night, you lose the game in overtime. Momentum's got nothing to do with it. Nothing, not a damn thing.
Well, then you should have picked the Wild.
I know.
Then you should have picked the Wild.
Am I trolling someone, maybe? Perhaps. Fans?
Looking at the odds here, I mean, Golden Knights are -220 tonight, -270 to win the series. I've been pretty on the ball when it comes to reading the lines in this series, and everything is playing out the way the sports books kind of told you it would before game 4 started. So going off that logic, I think that for the first time this series, the Golden Knights win a game without a lot of stress. I think they're going to put up a 5 spot, and I think they're going to play better defensively. So give me 5-2 Golden Knights. And I said earlier, we're going to go Eichel and Stone. I don't think the Golden Knights can win this series with Eichel and Stone playing as poorly defensively as they had. I don't think the Golden Knights can win this series if Eichel and Stone finish with 1 or 2 points each. So something has to give there. So I'm going to say the dam breaks tonight. Golden Knights 5-2. Aiden Hill bounces back. Eichel and Stone will the team to victory. There you go.
Is little Chris going to chime in? I know you tried to give him a shout out. Let's see if he can come to the microphone. Is he coming?
I've called him a couple of times.
Okay, I guess not. We'll have it, of course. We'll have his picks coming up on.
We'll have him later. Tonight. Yeah, he said he was going to come, but he might be out in the backyard already doing stuff.
We appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you so much. Of course, enjoy Game 5 tonight. We'll have a recap tomorrow. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. Will Bruce Cassidy shuffle the deck? That's the big question. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights, and please take care.